Hey guys, so I was asked I was asked by one of my users if how to install Kippo. Now, Kippo, I've talked about it before, and if you've gone on my website recently, I'll just show you. If you've gone on my website recently, you'll know that I've gone ahead and made my SSH Research Project available for everyone to check out. So if you go to ssh-research.chamancini.com, you'll be able to find a public web page. And this is not only I'm using Kippo Graph, but I'm not like my honeypots aren't all Kippo. I have a couple of them, but I'll tell you some of the caveats with Kippo and why I'm starting to move away from it. Also, another thing too is I won't divulge all the info because I want some of the research, some of the honeypots that I'm using are built by myself. So I have some techniques that I'm using. Also, one crucial thing, and I'll explain it why. But so far, I had this is a brand new database, so that's why there's only three kind of attempts that have, three logins that have happened. But this is part of the database that I have. So well over a couple hundred, and that's also a database. I believe I have a couple close to 500 to 800 logins and different samples of downloads and commands and stuff like that. And so I use the Kippo graph, which is made by Brute Force Labs, and I like it because it's already available. It already does all the stats and everything like that, and I don't have to spend too much time. I have to spend too much time creating, my own portal, and so I can just focus on getting data into Kippo graphs and stuff like that. So that's great. Now, Kippo Graphs works off of, obviously you can tell that this is, it's using an SQL backend, which I'll show you how to set up and, and launch your own Kippo. In this case, I'll show you in our demo how to install Kippo, but, I'll show you some other alternatives if you really want to, go ahead and venture off into running your own honeypot. Now, I am looking for people, as I say in my recent post on my website. If you're interested and have an extra virtual private server or something like that, and you want to run a honeypot and you want to contribute to my research project and to gather stats about what's going on the net, with SSH traffic, please do let me know. You can reach me through my website, seanmancini.com, and I can set you up where your honeypot can submit the stats that it receives to the research main page, and then your data will help everyone out. Okay. So one last thing about the research project is that the main goal here obviously is that we're going to gather IP addressing and links to scripts and stuff like that, so we can eventually use this to make better blacklists. We can look for certain patterns and stuff like that. So that's my main goal, to better help secure servers and and security in general. Having the ability to have a bigger IP blacklist, we can start blocking by prefixes or CIDRs and stuff like that. Which, as I've talked about in a lot of videos, I mean, if you're running a web server or a website and you don't expect traffic from, say, China, you block it anyways, right? And that'll help. That's one step. Now that's also by geofencing. So there is a lot of just by just because you block traffic from China doesn't mean Chinese hackers or Chinese citizens cannot get to your site. There's VPNs and proxies and stuff like that. But it's just one step in one layer of protection. Let me just check here. Okay, so I have a clean version of Debian installed here. Okay, so there's not much. This is clean. I just created a user called Sean. So now to get things started, the first thing you'll do is add a user named Kippo. Okay. So I'm just gonna go in as root, so I don't have to type in sudo for everything. Okay, so sorry. Okay, so we're gonna add a user. Okay, so now that we have a user named Kippo, what we can do is go over to and Kippo is made by Deester off of GitHub. Okay, so we'll just use Git to download the code. Okay, and now you have a folder named Kippo. Okay. Okay, so what we'll need is some dependencies that are on the website here. Okay, so we'll just check it out here. Let me just get the dependencies for Kippo. I forget all of them, so I know one's twisty. Oh. Okay, so we'll want authbind. So another thing is that Kippo cannot be run as root. Well, I mean, you would not want to run a honeypot as root anyways, because God forbid if someone penetrated through that honeypot, they'd have root access. So you wouldn't want that. So a way to have Kippo bind to port 22 is you'll have to use authbind. So just install authbind. And you have to create a file for port 22, and then you have to change the owner to Kippo and give it full rights. All right. Okay, so once you download all the dependencies, go over to the Kippo directory. First thing you want to do is you're going to move this file kippo.cfg.dist to kippo.cfg. that's supposed to be MV. Okay, so go over to the Kippo config file. First thing you'll want to do is change, obviously by default, the default port is 2222. Well, obviously we want to change this to 22 because if we have it to a non-standard port, chances are things like scripts running around the net and stuff won't hit this server. Okay. So one other thing we'll have to do is we'll have to make a tweak to our SSH server. So go over to etc/ssh and make a change to sshd_config. And obviously SSH runs by default on port 22, so we'll change this to 222. Okay. Then do service SSH reload, log out, log back into the server, which is now on port 22. Okay, another change that you want to make on the Kippo.cfg is, for instance, like the host name. Okay, so this being a default, a lot of scripts may look for server 03 and terminate right away because you know that it doesn't look right. It might be Kippo, so you can always do something like evil-server 1. Okay. Okay, so now the default DL, so when some scripts download malware and stuff, they'll be saved in the DL folder. And then you can have a download limit size, there's various configurations here. Okay. So now you can hit what kind of SSH server to masquerade as. So we'll just do SSH 2.0 for OpenSSH. And then here is like a banner file. Now, a banner file is when you SSH into something, it goes, this is a private system, stay out, stuff like that. Okay. Now, this is the part for if you want to enable logging to Kippo graphs, you'll have to enable this part, because what we're telling Kippo right now is to log traffic locally. So what we'll want is to enable this, to enable it locally and to a SQL database. Okay. So we'll just save this for now. Okay. Another thing that you want to do is go over to data, cd data, and you'll have the user database. So nano user db. Now, right now the default is root and then 1 2 3 4 5 6. So you can also do root star to allow anything, admin star, the usual ubuntu. It seems to usually be a popular one. And then you can also do things like admin 0 and then a password that you think is popular. Save that. Okay, now we'll have to make a small change to the startup script. Okay, see, instead of using twisted, we have to tell it to use authbind, and I believe yeah, that's right. So we change this to authbind. Save the script. Now do start.sh. I totally forgot about the thing. Okay, so now if we log in to this on port 22, you'll see that the SSH fingerprint has changed. Okay, so that means that there's a different server or different keys have been generated. And now the all the actions and everything that Kippo sees will be logged in. Will be logged on Kippo/log, and there'll be a file in there named Kippo.log. Okay. So, like, hitting enter here. Now, if we do something like, ping for, it gets recorded. So you'll see here, I pinged 4.2.2.2. Do ifconfig. You'll notice that the ifconfig is not the same as what we logged in at. So this is 192.168.2.55, and the IP is showing 10.98.55.4. So you'll see here, you can change the output of everything in the kippo.cfg. Also, you'll see that this is pulling from a file, Kippo text commands sbin ifconfig. So you can potentially do some changes there. So some of the issues with Kippo is it can be detected. And so the reason why it can be detected, part of it is, like, for instance, the first thing you'll see is when this process started, November 6th, right? And if you do psaux, you'll notice that none of these values change, right? Also, when you do things like psaux all, okay, you'll notice that nothing, again, nothing is changing, or even time or date. Sorry. Okay, so oh, actually, sorry, date does work. Okay. So, like, another thing you'll notice is like who. Again, you see that CPU, nothing is actually changing. Type in D message. A couple of things are missing, but the one thing that you can do is you can modify the honeypots. I would say the honeypots outputs. So if we do like apt get install wine, right? So one thing you'll notice is that, like, there's wine, but you can't run wine, right? But with Kippo, I've also moved, like I said, I've moved away from Kippo to go to Cowrie. Now, if you haven't heard of Cowrie, Cowrie is a direct replacement for Kippo. Now, what the difference is that Michael, Michael, who's the developer of Cowrie, took Kippo and changed a lot of things in Kippo to make it, more realistic, more and more support for more commands and stuff like that, right? So, the one thing that you will notice is that even with Kippo being kind of out of date when it comes to things like some commands not working and stuff, you'll notice that the scripts that are out on the net that are automatically running or automated, they will still they'll still attach to a Kippo honeypot and still run their scripts and stuff like that. It's more of a human. We're taking more time to look at certain things to find out, hey, this isn't right. So that's how to install the honeypot. Now, if you want to have this log to Kippo graph, okay, so we'll do this on the same machine that Kippo is running on, just for the sake of time. First, you'll need Apache. Actually, first, let me tell you where to get Kippo graph. Okay, so Kippo graph is located at bruteforce.gr. Okay, and these guys are really cool. They have they're the ones who actually started making Kippo, and they have a bunch of things that run on top of Kippo. Actually, I take that back. I don't think they actually started Kippo. I think they just make extensions for Kippo. Okay, so the first thing you'll need is you'll need Apache. You're gonna need MySQL, pretty much a LAMP stack. Okay, just waiting here. Okay. Oop. Okay, so you've also installed SQL. Just give this a minute. Now, the next thing you'll have to do is download the code for Kippo graph. So just right click on Kippo graph, go to copy link location. Now move over to the var www.html directory, and then you can type in wget. And now we're downloading the Kippo graph code. Extract it. Okay. Move the Kippo graph 1.5. You can also move it to Kippo. You can remove even the index. We won't be needing that. Now, if this is the only site that you're running, you can move everything to var www html, and now everything will reside here. Next thing you want to do is move everything, move the ownership from root in this case, or whatever user you're using, to www data. Okay. Next thing you'll want to do is allow, change mod 777 for generated graphs. Okay. Okay, so then the next thing, I went ahead of myself here. I'll type it. You move config.php.this to config.php. Go into config.php. Alright, so now we know that we're gonna make a database named Kippo. We'll have a username Kippo, password Kippo. We'll just name everything Kippo just for demo purposes. You'll obviously want to make something with a bit more security. Okay. Okay. Now, this is where it's up to you. If you're comfortable on SQL commands, then you can use the command line version of SQL. So mysql-u root-p, and then enter your password. Okay. So first thing we'll want to do is create database Kippo. And then create user Kippo identified by Kippo. Oh, oopsie. And now we want to grant the privilege. So we want, so we've created a username Kippo with the password Kippo. We've created a database. Now we want to grant privileges so Kippo, the user Kippo can use the Kippo database. So I keep on grant privilege to Kippo. Hold on here. Trusty friend Google. I've totally forgot what the command is. Can't believe that. Privilege MySQL. That's it. Sorry guys, even I forget some of the commands sometimes. So grant privileges on. So star is not good. That means everything. And we want to, instead of new user, Kippo. Alright. So then flush privileges, exit. Okay. So next thing you want to do once we have everything set is go back to Kippo and then go to kippo.cfg. Now, remember I said we'll have to enable Kippo to access to start writing to a database. So that's what we have to do here. So the only thing that changes here is Kippo. So Kippo will already be running. So stop Kippo, start it. You'll notice, let me see here. Oh no, not kill dash 0. Okay, so one thing I forgot to mention. If you're logging to a Kippo database, you will need an additional dependency, and that's Python -mysqldb. Okay, so back to Kippo. Start. Okay. You'll notice here that it started the DB log engine for MySQL. Now, depending on, as you can see, I'm not so good with the command line and maintaining MySQL database through commands. I actually hate typing commands in MySQL. I can secure it for you and stuff like that, but I hate typing. So if you're like me, you may want to enable or to download Php Myadmin. Okay. And what Php Myadmin allows you to do is be a little lazy. You can administrate MySQL via GUI, right? And then and you know, if this is just a SQL database, and you know, you're only and you want to administrate it without you know, without having to type everything, Php Myadmin is great. There are some security considerations, of course. You know, anything anything that you're adding to the mix is going to cause some issues, but it's actually simple to secure in a way of you can have it only respond to you know, your management network or your internal network, so it won't respond publicly. Okay. So this is Kippo graph working, and then this is Php Myadmin. Again, don't haze me. I am logging in as root. This is a demo, and obviously you do not want to do this in production. You want to create a username that's not root. You also want to run the MySQL secure installation. You want to do all of that. This is just a demo. Okay, so you have the Kippo database created. Now, what we'll need to do is import the database structure. So if you have Kippo that's downloaded locally, what you can do is I have the SQL file that's already located in Kippo. I just happen to have it on my desktop. So you just hit browse, import, browse, go, and that will create the I guess you would say the database schema. Okay, now once you have that, you'll go over to Kippo Graph, which is, sorry, this is already on 2.55, which is the server that we've made. Okay. Now, to test to make sure everything is fine, log into the honeypot. Okay. Test. Exit. And exit. Okay, you should see this change. Boom. We know that it's working. So if we go to Kippo play log, okay, eventually we're going to start having it where this starts populating. Okay. So we already know 1, and that's the username I logged in with, root123. Okay. If you go over to Kippo IP, you'll know that I logged in from 192.168.2.5. Okay. And then over to, we've already been over it all. So Kippo Graph. And there you go. So if you have any questions or comments on the live stream today, I hope the quality was good. I'm going to check this after. If the quality didn't turn out, I'll delete the video and I'll just quickly make this tutorial again. I spent a lot of time playing around with settings and stuff with the live streams, and so yeah. Okay, so if you have any questions, leave them in the comment section of YouTube. You can also email me, Sean@SeanMancini.com, or visit my website, SeanMancini.com. Thanks for watching the live stream, guys, and have a good day, guys.